dark feminine energy and you develop in an unhealthy way, you don't do the soul care that is required to work through your traumas and your insecurity and the things that are going on up inside of you, you just project it. And then you just implement so many boundaries and rules, you end up isolating yourself. They don't tell you that. They don't let you know that's where you're heading. That's where you're heading. You're going to be an old woman talking about your pussy and your price. You're going to be an old woman that, yes, you may get the resources. Because she does too. My mother does too. She make it, you get the resources. You can get the man. You can have the family. But if there's no care, there's no nurturing, there's no softness, you are not fluid in the light femininity. You're not fluid there. You're going to push everybody away. They don't tell you that part, right? Because they're not teaching it from a healthy way. They're not teaching it from a healthy perspective. Y'all don't realize that's the reason why they say what they say every video. At this point, it's getting repetitive. They don't even have nothing else to say because they're stuck in that dynamic. They're literally the epitome of what y'all see as dark femininity on social media is a woman being stuck in her trauma. That's all it is. A woman who looked at a video, realized, oh, I need to be assertive. Oh, I need to have rules. Oh, I need to have boundaries. Oh, if I manipulate, I can get this. But they don't tell you about, they're just stuck in their trauma. They're just stuck in trying to figure out how to keep people away, how to be 2 or 3 steps ahead of everybody, how they can't trust nobody, how they super insecure. They don't tell you that because it's not conducive to growing a social media platform. So they can't tell you what I know for facts because I've been around these type of women all my freaking life. They can't tell you how some of these things that y'all are doing or displaying on social media is not conducive to a healthy, happy marriage or healthy, happy children. They just talk about what you can get now and how you can get the bag and run. So you can get the bag and run. Yeah. What is the use of gaining the luxuries of the world and lose your soul, lose your being, lose your wholeness, lose your magic? What is the use of that? I don't understand it, but I've lived it, so I know. So I know. I've watched what happened to these women. I've watched what happened to these women who are talking about being like men. I watch what's happening to these women when they're talking about if men can do it, I can do it too. They have the same conversation. The same conversation as old as time. And when you've been around these kind of women, you learn to recognize what's going on. I don't see healthy women teaching dark femininity. I don't. Maybe 1 or 2. 1 or 2, because there's nothing wrong about teaching it. I absolutely do believe that you have to have the dark feminine. I believe that you have to go through soul care, shadow work, in order to get to the healthy dark feminine. Because if you don't go that way, you're just going to go through the way of projecting. So the only thing you're going to do is if all your relationships you've been cheated on, disrespected, only thing you're going to do is put so many rules in place and boundaries in place, you're going to isolate yourself. You're going to isolate yourself. And you will never be able to recognize when you can trust someone or when you can't. Are you saying dark feminine is bad? No. I'm saying the way you've been taught is, most of you all, and then tell me if I'm wrong. If the way you've been taught for dark femininity is through soul care, then you've been taught the right way. But if you've been taught the dark femininity is all about, being assertive, manipulating, setting boundaries, being dominant, speaking up for yourself, then you haven't been taught the right way. Because the only thing you're going to take from that is how do I use that to protect myself? And you'll never recognize when you are protected because you haven't done any soul care or inner work to recognize that. You haven't done any work to unravel the issues that you're having. So I'm not saying that dark femininity is bad. I've taught dark femininity before. I literally have a femininity course myself, and I taught both, light and dark, because it's absolutely needed. So dark femininity is needed, but a lot of us are going about it the wrong way. You're going about it the wrong way, and you don't even realize it. Because you're getting it on social media is telling you only aspects of it that happen once you go and deal with your ish. You only learn what boundaries you need until you figure out what trauma was caused. But if you haven't done that and you implement boundaries, you just implement rules and boundaries and isolate yourself. And you know, the reason why they do that in dark femininity is they have so many rules and boundaries to isolate themselves because they don't know who to trust. They don't trust anyone. They don't trust anyone. And guess what that leads to? Where you look at your children as though they have something against you. As a woman that has a parent that's in 100% in the dark feminine, I can tell you, she don't trust me. She don't like me. And she is always trying to figure out how she can get ahead of me. Or she's trying to compete with me. She's always trying to figure out how she can manipulate me too. Because she can't trust. And she don't recognize when she should trust you or not. And being a child of that woman does not make the difference. Just because you have a child and you're in 100% dark feminine and you haven't done anything, you haven't done any soul care, you don't recognize when you need to, when your kid is not an issue. You don't. You look at her as just him as though they're an enemy. And they will end up not having access to their children. The way it's been taught right now, that's what you're going to end up with. And no one is saying it. But I'm going to say it because of the fact that I am a child, a product of it. I literally had to go live with my grandmother. I had to go live with my grandmother because she was too selfish. She was too busy trying to figure out what we're doing to her. She still looked at us as we're the enemy. We're her children. And she's always looked at us as we're the enemy. Or we're the cause. So let me see what everybody's saying. I'm gonna take a break because I got somewhere to say about this. Because this is important. Are you saying, dark feminists, what are your thoughts on the book of art of seduction? There's nothing wrong with seducing. Like, women should be comfortable with seducing. The thing is, when you take the art of seduction and use the seduction techniques, and you're just trying to figure out how you can be more appealing to a man instead of realizing it's an asset to you and your sexuality, that's where the issue comes in at. That's where the issue comes in at. I don't think dark femininity, and if you actually go look up man eater, y'all, I'm telling you what I know. The dark femininity is nothing more than the repackaged man, the man eater of the past. It's just a modern day version. That's all it is. And it's all about sexuality. Because when you're in the dark, when you have an unhealed dark femininity, you think your sexuality is dependent on the man. You don't realize your sexuality comes from within. Your sexuality comes through your heart. It is more than just rubbing I don't want to say that. It's more than just bumping uglies. It's more than just bumping uglies. But the dark femininity, of course, they're going to reduce it to that because they can't see beyond that. Nothing wrong with art of seduction. Nothing wrong about learning how you can seduce. Nothing wrong. It's just the way they utilize it. It's problematic. This hits on the spot. Absolutely. Like I said, I respect and I follow dark femininity content creators who understand that you cannot even get or access. You cannot access dark femininity unless you're doing soul care. That's the truth of the matter. I don't care how many videos you watch and you pick up that tip. That tip, you're going to utilize it from your own trauma or what's going on inside. You're not going to utilize it or use it effectively. And that's something they're not telling you because they're not caring about telling you these things because guess what? They want the views. That's the reason why in the dark feminine space, there's a lot of sex workers. Y'all will really take more advice from a sex worker than you take advice from a regular woman. And that is what it is. And you don't even realize it. In my family also, we have sex workers. So I respect them too. Okay? So this is not a hit against sex workers. It's just that you have to understand that a lot of times when the sex workers are teaching you dark femininity, they're not teaching you soul care. So they're not teaching you that you shouldn't do these tips or you shouldn't try these things unless you heal those issues first. Because all you're going to do is end up projecting. That's all you're going to do. DF is all about going through the darkness of your life experience and carrying it through, shining light on your confidence with grace and confidence. Absolutely. Absolutely. And see, this is the reason why I can follow some women who teach it when you teach it properly. But when you teach it and you're leading a whole generation, because dark femininity is actually more popular than light femininity. When I do any videos, if I were to change my platform and only do content about dark femininity, it would grow, because that's very popular right now. Because there's so many women that they've been hurt. So many women dealing with trauma and insecurities and all the things that are going on in their heads. They want to gravitate to anything that they feel that would be protective, because they haven't learned that in protection is going through soul care. Because when you start unravel all the things that are going on in your head and in your body and all your trauma, those things come up and you learn. And since you learn, protection becomes an embodiment that you don't have to look for outside of yourself. This is how you know that most people don't even know what they're talking about when they teach femininity. And I'm glad I got the lesson outside of social media. I was literally raised an epitome of a woman who's dark femininity. I was really raised as a woman. So my grandma was divine feminine. She was fluid in both. She was fluid in the light and the dark. She was very assertive, but she can be very soft. Her energy was like a gravitational pull because she was both. She was fluid in both. And then also I had aunt. Well, I actually have two. An aunt is dark feminine and my mother is dark feminine, right? But then I also have I call her my aunt, but she's like a family friend. She is light feminine. The thing is, her light feminine is so meek, so quiet. She's calming, but she has no boundaries. She has no voice. She has no, she doesn't assert herself. So that's problematic also. That's problematic also. That's the reason why you need both. It needs to be fluid. When you are fluid in both, you become a gravitational pull. People gravitated towards my grandmother. So that's what most of my advice is from her perspective. Like everything she taught me, I teach you all. I teach you some of the things that my mother taught me. Okay. And some of it is, I teach y'all some of the things my mother taught me. But I teach you from a healthy perspective. Okay, because I already seen the results of it being unhealthy. I've seen the results of what a dark feminine woman who's unhealthy, and then she has kids, and how her kids want nothing to do with her because she doesn't trust anybody. She is too concerned about karma. She's too concerned about getting back. See, the thing is, no one teaches you all that if you're always trying to get them before they get you, eventually somebody gonna get you, and you're gonna get got. Okay? If you always moving in life, you're doing things behind the scenes, always trying to make sure you 1 or 2, 3 steps ahead of other people because you're doing some unsavory things, you're going to get God eventually. No one tells you that. So when you learn it only one way and y'all are seeking it out because you've been hurt, okay? Someone didn't do right. And I'm not even saying that was right, that they shouldn't have done whatever they did. But you're only gravitating to that information because you see it as a form of protection and security. You see it as a form of, let me figure out how I can protect myself. But let me tell you this, you will still get God. You will still get God because they're not teaching you this. That you cannot, the ultimate form of protection is going through your ish. When you go through your ish, your protection becomes an embodiment. Even, you don't even have to see the thing before you feel the thing and you'll move right along and move around. But that's because you went through your stuff. You went through your inner work. You did your soul care. So that's the reason why I don't teach a whole bunch of protection. Because if you actually listen to what I'm telling you and teaching you, I'll teach you how protection becomes an embodiment. And you don't have to worry about being got or done or treated in the way that you were treated prior. Because before you see it, you will feel it and you'll move right around. But when you're in the dark femininity, and it's unhealthy, y'all looking for signs. Y'all looking for something to be done to you first. And sometimes when something is done to you, it's one moment too late. It's one moment too late. That's the reason why it's not healthy overall. I call dark feminine mothers as a basic title Earth God. Mother name is title's honor. So Earth God is what I call mine. Okay. Do men like vulnerability? How do I know I've been taken advantage of. See, this is the reason why. Questions like that lets me know you need to do your soul care. You need to do your soul care. If you're concerned about being taken advantage of, when you do the work on self and you unravel all of your trauma, all of your insecurity, all of the things that are going on in the dark, you won't have to wait to see that thing. You'll feel that thing and you'll move around. I don't have to worry about being taken advantage of. I don't have to be worried about protection, because y'all know what's going to happen. I'm going to feel it before I see it. And then I'm going to move right around. But yes, men like vulnerability. See, the thing is, I'm not saying dark femininity won't lead you to resources, to get in the man, to get in the bag. And that's all the things I hear on social media. But some of us, just some of us want it all. Some of us are very greedy women. We want the men, we want the resources, we want his love, we want his care, we want his consideration. We want to be on that pedestal. We want him to look at us with lust and attraction. We want all of it. We want all of it. And we want to be able to be vulnerable with him. We want to be able to share with him. We want to do life with him. But that takes going and having soul care. You got to have soul care. You have to do the shadow work. And it's more important than ever. Like, we have so many people that's unhealed teaching. And you can't stop them from teaching. And I don't care about stopping them from teaching. I think what's required now is for those of us who are healthy, we need to start speaking up. Because if we don't, we're going to have a whole generation of women that are going to be lost. And they're going to be 60 years old. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this. They're going to be 60 years old being displaced from their family. Or 60 years old having all of the riches and wealth and have no one that they can trust or depend on, lean on. They have no one they can share anything with. But isn't that what life is about? Aren't we wanting to have it all? Like, aren't we want people that we can absolutely trust, that we can be our authentic selves? That we can be with people who support us? Or are we trying to be in a game of, let me see who can do it first and who can stay ahead? That sounds exhausting. And if I'd settled for that type of marriage, I don't think I would be doing this. I'd be too busy trying to be 2 or 3 steps ahead of my husband. Instead of understanding that man got my